Hey guys, welcome back to Geese Reads and Food for Thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey guys, welcome back to this virtual book club. This week I'm doing something a little bit different. Our book to read is Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days, but we're going to shorten it into 5 days and go through the whole book. So each day from today to Friday, I'll be reading a little bit of Around the World in 80 Days, and then stopping at different parts where I think it's cool and relate to our food for thought then versus now. Which, so in a sense, it's more of like a director's cut more than just me talking about the book on Monday and Friday, and it's more of like a discussion type video. If you want to read Jules Verne's Around the World in 8 Days with me, there's a link in the description below so you can get your own copy. And now without further ado, let's go right into this book, Around the World in 80 Days. Alright, Around the World in 8 Days by Jules Verne. Chapter 1. Phileas Fogg takes on Passepartout as his employee. The place is London. The time is in the year 1872. The man in whom we're interested in is Mr. Phileas Fogg. Today he is sitting in his big armchair waiting for a person to appear. Mr. Fogg may employ this person to act as his personal helper. So right now, Jules Verne is like describing the setting very just out there. I think that kind of just helps, like, gives you the idea of how it will be, gives me the idea on how it will be, and I'm kind of excited to see who this person will be. Before the new employee comes, let us look at Mr. Fogg. He is a member of one of the best clubs in London. He lives very close to his club. When he goes for a walk, he walks to his club and back again. He takes his breakfast and his evening meals at his club. He does this every day at the same times, at the same table, and never changes. He always eats alone, although from time to time he talks with the other members of the club and he plays cards with them each evening. He reads a newspaper in the club library. He must have enough money to live on because he doesn't do any work. He is an Englishman and he is very English. So that kind of shows what the type of man Mr. Fogg is. So I'm kind of surprised to see if he's very, like, particular on the different things he likes, or whether he seems like a person who makes sure he follows a certain schedule and is always on point with everything. He had his former employee leave his service because the hot water from his morning bath was 1 degree too cool. Wow. So that really shows that Mr. Fogg does not like anything to be off at all. Not even 1%, nothing off at all. Wow. The new employee came into the room. He was French. His name was Passepartout. "You are 4 minutes late," said Mr. Fogg. "Please do not let this happen again. You are now employed by me from this moment 29 minutes after 11 o'clock this morning, the 2nd of October, Wednesday." Having said this, Mr. Fogg put on his hat and went to his club 4 minutes later than usual. The new employee, Passepartout, was pleased. "This is just what I wanted," said Passepartout to himself joyfully. "We shall get on together, Mr. Fogg and I. What a quiet, regular gentleman he is. A true Englishman. A machine. And I do not mind working for a machine." So I think, Mr. Fogg definitely is, in a sense, a machine where he wants everything the same every single time. Alright, so now on to Chapter 2 of Around the World in 80 Days. Chapter 2. Mr. Fogg says he'll go around the world in 80 days. Oh, so I guess the adventure is already starting. Let's see how he says it. While playing cards that evening at the club, Mr. Fogg and his friends discussed the fact that travel had now become so fast and easy that the world had really become much smaller. "It is possible to go around the world in 80 days, said Mr. Fogg. This sentence of Mr. Fogg caused surprised look and much talk among the members gathered at the card table. Some said it could be done, others said it was impossible. Mr. Fogg supplied the following facts on the possibility of keeping to the 80-day timing. London to Suez by train and ship, 7 days. Suez to Bombay by ship, 13. Bombay to Calcutta by train, 3. Calcutta to Hong Kong by ship, 13. Hong Kong to Yokohama by ship, 6. Yokohama to San Francisco by ship, 22. San Francisco to New York by train, 7. New York to London by ship and train, 9. Total 80 days. Funny. Now we have airplanes and more faster ways of travel. So I think if it was now here in the 21st century, the time of how many days it would take for him to go around the world, I think it would have been much shorter. Ah, said one of the members, that's if everything goes exactly right. If there's one slip, one delay, the timing is off and the 80-day time becomes impossible. There's no slip or delay in a well-ordered trip, said Mr. Fogg. No one can make such a trip. I could, said Mr. Fogg. Will you prove it then, said one of the richer members of the club. I have £4,000 that says you cannot go around the world in 80 days. I have £20,000 that says I can, said Mr. Fogg. And I'm willing to start tonight and get back to this room in 80 days. That will be the 21st of December at 15 minutes to 9 in the evening. If I'm not here at that time, my £20,000 belongs to those of you who are in this agreement. 3 days earlier, an event which seems to have nothing to do with Mr. Fogg and his planned trip took place. A criminal stole £55,000 in new banknotes from the famous Bank of England. The description of the criminal stated only that it was someone with the appearance of a gentleman. Police were sent hurrying to all the main ports and stations, even to foreign countries. One devoted policeman, Mr. Fix by the name, was sent as far as the west to see if the criminal gentleman would try to escape by the way of the Middle East and China. We shall hear more of this serious policeman later. I have a feeling that Mr. Fix the policeman will be kind of like a trouble towards Mr. Fogg and his travels. So let's see what happens in the next chapter. Okay, chapter 3. Passepartout is very surprised and the journey begins. Phileas Fogg finished the card game and left the club at 25 minutes past 7 that evening, arriving home shortly afterwards, much to the surprise of Passepartout, who had been informed that his master would always be home at exactly midnight. Mr. Fogg went to his bedroom. "Passepartout," called Mr. Fogg. Once, then once again. "Sir, is there something wrong? It is not midnight." "I called you twice, but since it is not my usual hour of midnight, I forgive you. Please get ready. We leave for Dover and Calais in 10 minutes. "Mr. Fogg, you are leaving home," said the very surprised Passepartout. "We," said Mr. Fogg, "we are going around the world." "Around the world, did you say?" said the puzzled and unbelieving Passepartout. "Yes, around the world and in 80 days, so please hurry. We have no time to lose." Man, imagine being Passepartout and learning that the man who you are employed to, who you thought was a machine and never wanted change, suddenly decides to go around the world in 80 days. Let's see how he responds to this. "Trunks, suitcases, impossible. We will buy what we need on our journey. I shall want my raincoats and my shoes. Please bring them and put some of our things in a small bag." "And I wish to remain quiet and lead an orderly life," said Passepartout to himself. So I guess Passepartout, did not really want this to happen, but Mr. Fogg is his employee, so he has to do what he says. So things went into the small bag, and down he went to Mr. Fogg. Mr. Fogg opened the bag, slipped £20,000 into it, and master and man went down the stairs and out into the street. They got into a carriage, off to the railroad station, 2 first-class tickets for Paris, and onto the boat train. At 20 minutes to 9, the whistle sounded, the train started to move, and the 80-day journey had begun. And that is all for today, but make sure to tune in tomorrow, Tuesday, to see what happens next in Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. And I have a strong feeling that Passepartout and Mr. Fogg will run into the devoted policeman Mr. Fix very soon. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and go check out any of my other videos that I've made on G's Productions. And if you have any book recommendations, thoughts, or comments, make sure to let me know on my Facebook group page at G's Reads and Food for Thought, or my Facebook and Instagram at Balls for College. The links will be in the description below. And keep in mind, next week is the last week of July, so I will take anybody's favorite historical fiction book, and that will be the book of that week. And as always, keep on reading. I'll see you guys next time.